So,
I'm conscious we have a lot of hands and a little time. So could I ask you to, if you would mind, take perhaps 3 questions and choose either your favourite or something to give us a combined final response.
This one right at the back.
Yeah.
I've thoroughly been enjoying the thoughts and ideas and everything exchanged in the room and in your presentation. So by no stretch of the imagination is this criticism, but the thoughts on talent and the quote you used from Dr. Seuss of "Go ask your dad." Could it be "Go ask your mom" or "Go ask your parent" in the spirit of equality?
Go ask your
parent in the spirit of equality.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good idea. I mean, it's a direct quote. So.
I know.
Oh, the question is, could the advice on talent be "Go ask your mom" or "Go ask your parent," which I think is.
Or for orphans, go ask someone.
Go ask your buddies. It's basically only to say, talent is something that you have to find within yourself, and not everyone finds it.
Hi, thank you. I'm really struck by this project for one key reason, and we've done a lot of supported a number of projects that involve co-design. And the one thing I'd like to know is, how do you get past that fear among people who are competing with each other for services or for particular things that they're doing? So I think the one thing that could really get in the way of long-term sustainability is people fearing being obsolete in the long term, right? And I think that is something that we see come through all the time with competitors who are working in the same space for limited funding, and you know, we want to be able to bring them together. We want to be able to create this critical mass of information and tools and resource through what they know. But there's this really difficult issue that we have all the time, that we can't get people to add that actually want to contribute. So I wonder how you managed to get past that.
Okay. Would you just mind holding just one moment, and we'll take one from front row here.
So it's really refreshing to hear your discussion on methods. Finally, a really honest discussion. And I'm curious, for the field of anthropology, their method was ethnography, and they went through a very self-reflective period where their method, and they had to admit that their method was used as a form of imperialism to enlighten themselves on what the natives were doing in other countries. And how do you ensure that, from learning from anthropology, that the methods, that we can be self-reflective enough, that these tools, our methods, don't become tools of imperialism, or in this case, design imperialism? And it worries me when, how do you talk to other people like Ray Kurzweil, where you mentioned the singularity, where he believes that our thoughts of knowledge will rule the world one day. And I really liked your comment about how it's about their work, and it's not about telling other people what to do. But what happens when you have the people in the room, or other people, not us, but just like people who are really into social change, and we're told, go out into the world and change people. How do you talk to them and tell them, making sure that they aren't using that as a form of imperialism and listening to what other people want?
Okay. Thank you, Tricia. And there's a final question on that far side. Yeah?
You remind me what they are.
Well, I will remind you, don't worry, because I'm conscious of time. Yeah, finally, yeah.
I just wanted to know a bit more about the link between design and education, the way you wanted to change the way kids get educated.
Yep. Okay. So it's how can we inspire people to collaborate and not be closed to competing? How can we avoid design imperialism and also to work on education?
Tell me your question again. I don't think you quite got that.
Well, I don't know. I think there's a.
Have you forgotten your question?
There's a long-term issue with, if we never become perfect, I think there are people that are worried that if we never
I see. I remember now. Yeah. Competing for resources.
And if people are competing for resources, like they just stop
collaborating. Yeah. I think that's. So the question was.
It's a role-changing question here. Well, we haven't got time for that question. We can get it out in a moment. We're just going to address these three. This is the formula.
So this question is a really good one, which is, you know, in producing any kind of a movement like this, like when Guatemala started, we featured 200 leaders in the country. They're now working with 2,600 leaders. So somehow they have convinced 2,600 people, each of whom represents an organization, that being collective is more powerful than not. So, and I think one of the things that you have to, in some ways, go to Amory Lovin's point, because I think there's one perspective on the world, that there's a pie and we're going to slice it, and there's another perspective which is, how many pies are we going to make? How many pies are we going to invent? And we don't have one pie, we have an unlimited number of pies that we can produce. And we may not be able to produce them tomorrow, but it's not a zero-sum game, that we can actually increase the total collectively through collaboration. And that you do need a methodology, culture, and spirit of collaboration. And I think this goes back to the discussion about process. One of the things that we almost never talk about, because we've so integrated it as a way of thinking and working, is collaboration. But we have a culture of collaboration, you know, in my own practice and in the studio. We have a methodology of collaboration that is real listening. Not as someone, I heard yesterday someone say, you know, listening is not waiting until it's your turn to speak. It's actually it's actually listening for what they're really saying, not what they're telling you.